Now, I am planning on making this into a cardigan, so I will start from the side and work my way in how as the pattern calls for the cardigan. Okay. A minute. Now I've gathered my tools, which I will go through them in just a second. And this is the pattern. It is from Knitwear Designs. I've downloaded the program. I'll set that up where I can see it. On the screen is the graph of the work. And I can bring that in better for you to see. Okay, I do all my work near my computer. Just excuse me. Okay. I am going to, we are working on a lighthouse sweater. This is the front, and it's from Sweaterscapes. Except I want to make it a cardigan, so I pulled the information, like, you know, the size and stuff, into my Knitwear Design program. And on my screen is my chart to show me where to place the colors. And I've got my pattern here. And this was printed using Knitwear Sweater Design. Out of the way. And it is done with the Intarsia method. I have to make a ribbing, my rib first. Excuse the excess noise. Okay, so I'm going to have to cast, I've got my tools. I got my key plate too for when I'm doing this just basic knitting. I've got my Intarsia plate for when I do my picture knitting. I use a rag hem I had created, and I've got some small weights in there, and I use a clip to hold it in so that it doesn't fall out on me. I have this wooden tool. It is actually for pottery, but it is great for opening up to make sure all your needles are opened up. I have my end weights, which is simply fishing lures dipped in plastic with a paper clip holding it together. And I have the basic latch transfer tool. Tucked up underneath. And the basic latch transfer tool. Okay, and I have my thread, which this thread is going to be a to hook my rag hem onto the work. Okay, so my pattern calls for 55 stitches. So I will start with 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so that's my 55 stitches. I'm going to remove my weights from my rag hem. These came with my extensions. That's why they're short. They're about 30 stitches. And I'm going to start on the far edge. I got one, and push these back a little bit. And just push these onto. Now I'm using every other one. This is a good time to double count, double check, make sure you've got the right amount of needles. It does not have to be exact to hang it on, as long as you've got the required needles coming out. And in my case, I need 55 needles. I will start with start at the bottom with my border, which will be 22 rows of a 1x1 rib. Now I do a closed cast on. I will knit one row with my thread. If you're used to the Ultimate Sweater machine, what I'm using my thread as is what you would use your elastic. But I don't like the elastic. I like thread because I can pull it. That's why I like the rag hem, because I can pull it without fear of breaking it. If I don't knit the first row with the thread, and then I end up doing something like this and I have to cut it. And I'm going to end up using probably 4 of these, so I'm going to put in 3 to start. Okay, then I get my thread, which I have it wound around a craft stick. And I'm just going to clip it just to give it some weight. It doesn't have to be that big of a clip, that just happens to be one over my hand. I'll make sure all of them are in a stitch. And you want to make sure your carriage has the size key plate that you're working in. Now, I'm not using my Intarsia plate at the moment. I will when I get to the first point of where I have to change. So I knit this row slow, and I'm just unwinding the stick as I go. And then I take it off, bring my carriage back over to the right, because I prefer starting on a right. And I unwind this a little bit, not too much, because I want to hook it to this end so that it just can hang there. Okay, now I want to look, make sure every needle is looped up. And I'm going to start with the snow, this section right in here. Okay. Now my yarn is in a bucket underneath the work, because that makes it just easier. And I have these cups with the holes in them. I've got the yarn in there too, so I can set it on the floor below me. That color I will not need yet, so I'll just hang it up over on the left hand, over on the right. And I'm using off-white for my snow. Now, no matter what I work on, I always start with a swatch, and the easiest way to do a swatch, I've found, is to knit, cast on 30 stitches, then knit 60 to 100 rows, and then measure that. And with the Knitwear Design program, it does come with a gauge converter. So you just type in how many stitches you did, how many rows you did, and how long that piece of material is you created. Then you key in how many stitches your gauge needs to be. 1, 2, 3. And 55. Now I will try to do this all on camera for you. Now pull out my ruler to push all my work back so that the work is just, so the latches are just resting on the stitches. I use my wooden tool to make sure all my stitches, all my latches are in the open position. And now I will knit for 22 rows.